Hi everyone, it's me, Chloe, and I'm currently in Las Vegas, Nevada, in America. But I usually live in Tokyo, Japan, and I'm here because I'm visiting my mom, sisters, and my grandparents. So as I sit here in my mom's home, I reflect a lot about what it's like to live abroad. So today, I would like to talk about 5 things people don't tell you about living abroad. Number 1, when you live abroad and you come home, it sort of feels like you are entering a time slip. Now, let me elaborate. Everyone looks older physically, mentally. There are some changes, some maturing. A lot of people have gone through major life events, key life moments, right? And of course, that's what happens when time passes. That's normal. But because you are not physically there to experience this change, it feels a lot more abrupt. It doesn't feel gradual. So it's a little more shocking. You think to yourself, where has the time gone? For example, me seeing my grandparents, seeing my parents even. They do seem a bit older, and I know that's normal, that's age, but it's jarring. Yeah, you might video call your family, your friends, and keep up with them that way, but it is so different from physically seeing them and experiencing the air about them. That time slip phenomenon is very weird, and that's something that comes with living abroad, especially if you don't visit home that often. For me personally, it's been over 2 years since I saw my mom and my grandparents. So the changes were quite significant, especially for grandparents. I feel like you notice changes in them more, especially with health conditions and medical stuff. I feel like that change is quite noticeable. This might be different if you do visit home a lot, but I feel like the average person doesn't have the time nor the resources. So I feel like the average person visits home once a year, maybe once every 2 years, maybe even less frequent than that. But yeah, it is hard to come home a lot. Even if you do have the time and the resources, it takes a lot out of you to come home. It's a big trip. You have to face a lot of jet lag. I am still jet lagged even though I've been here for like almost 2 weeks, and it's hard because you have to take time off work. You have to kind of put things on hold back in the country you live in, which not everyone can do with ease. So following off of this time slip thing, number 2 is the guilt. I think you feel a lot of guilt when you live abroad because you miss out on important things, to put it simply. You miss out on family and friends aging, especially older family members. You miss out on major life events, sometimes weddings, bridal showers, baby showers, hospitalizations, graduations, sicknesses, being there for people who are suffering, right? So it's hard because you think, okay, should I be closer to home? Should I be helping my mom take care of my grandparents? Should I be there for my friends who are grieving the loss of someone important to them? Should I be present at my sister's graduation, at her going through a lot of major changes in life? Should I be a more prominent figure in my family life, right? So it's tricky because yeah, you can be there, you can support people virtually, through text, through video. It's a lot different when you're there physically. Physical support, being there in person is different. And at the same time, you don't want to pause your own life. You don't want to base your life around other people, but you can't help but to feel a bit selfish and a bit guilty for not doing so. Number 3, physical changes and behavioral changes. So when I come home, my friends and family always love to tell me how Japanese inspired I look. I guess like my bangs, my fringe, I guess it's Japanese style. Same with my clothing style. This is not a good example because I just got this out of my mom's closet. But yeah, I think it's normal though, because when you live in a different country, yeah, you're gonna absorb some of the style of the people around you. And when you go to the hair salon, you know, they're gonna cut your hair a bit more similar to the other cuts and hairstyles of people in that country. So I think physical change is like an obvious thing. I see videos of people who like move to Berlin, for example, and they're like me before and after Berlin. And before they look kind of normal, casual, and then after they're like all decked out in fashion and they have like an edgy haircut. And that's Berlin. I know Berlin's like super fashionable, but yeah, it's normal for a country, I think, to change your physical appearance, but you don't notice it so much because, like I said before, it's gradual change. But when you come home, those who know you in your home country will probably be sure to point it out. The same goes with behavior and mannerisms. For example, in Japan, when I leave a restaurant, I'm like, arigatou gozaimasu, right? I like bow my head a little bit. I'm like more gentle with my words. And of course, I speak Japanese to them. But here in America, I find myself saying, oh, thank you, appreciate it, thank you. And my friends are like, what are you doing, right? But it kind of, like that, the version of me who lives in Japan kind of bleeds out when I'm home in America, because it's hard to like 100% switch back to like the American Chloe and then 100% switch back to the Japan Chloe, right? It's funny because you don't necessarily realize that, but people around you do. 4, kind of similar to 3, but when you live abroad, you develop another version of yourself. So then you have 2 versions. You have who you are in your home country and then who you are in the country that you live in. For example, in Japan, I don't want to be 100% the American Chloe, right? Because she is too loud for Japan. She speaks English. She doesn't speak Japanese. And she's not as gentle or polite as Japan Chloe. So you really kind of develop these 2 identities because you have to switch. You have to adapt depending on what country you're in. And I think that's normal that humans, we adapt and adjust to our surroundings, to the people around us, to the culture, the language, the customs. But it's funny because if friends come to visit you abroad, they're like, who are you? You know, like, why are you being like that? And then vice versa. If you have friends in the country you live in, like friends in Japan who come to America and see me here, I'm sure they notice those differences as well. But you do have to kind of create those 2 identities. I mean, you don't want to rid yourself of your authenticity and of like your true nature, but I think it's just human nature to want to blend in a bit. It's human nature to not want to stand out like a sore thumb, right? Humans want to be accepted by the group. So you will adapt accordingly, adjust accordingly. And I think that's perhaps an unconscious thing as well, because unless I sit down and reflect on those changes, I don't really think twice about it. And last, point number 5, no one tells you that living abroad will change your life. Or maybe they do tell you, I don't know. By the way, all of these, the title is things no one tells you, but like maybe someone already told you this before, so it really has changed my life. And this sounds cliche, but it does broaden your mind. It makes you more open-minded. I guess you have to be, you know, you're around a new culture, a new language, maybe depending on where you are. You're around new customs and traditions. You see the world through different perspectives, different lenses. You have new conversations with people, conversations that you couldn't have in your home country. And you inevitably learn new ways of life. And I think learning new ways of life is something you can gain through talking to people of other cultures from other countries, but living somewhere for a prolonged amount of time really gives you that perspective in the strongest way. It really nails it in your mind. I think living abroad opens so many new doors for you, perhaps for work, for friendships, for love, for discovering things about yourself. And yeah, that's something, I think that's the number one thing, self-discovery. I think that's the number one thing, self-discovery, because you find out who you are in the face of change and discomfort, which is what happens when you live somewhere new, of course. You truly find out how strong you are and how resilient you are, how adaptable you are, because you can be pushed to the limits. Perhaps might be doing this by yourself. It's like a healthy challenge. Sometimes it's really stressful and you want to go crazy and you want to go back home, but other times you're like, oh, I did it. Okay, like I went to the bank. I figured out how to get an apartment on my own in a different country, in a different language. A lot of those things really reveal a lot about who you are, and it's nice to learn that. It's nice to see that. So yeah, that's it. Those are 5 things about living abroad that you may or may not have known. Yeah, thank you for watching.